Good morning. Thanks again for coming here and listening to us talk. My name is Chris Backman, Town Manager in Orrington, and here to give a update and overview of the incident over at the Epic plant here in town. I first want to thank the fire department and first responders, not just from our community, but from the entire community surrounding the area. Certainly it was a great effort in, first response to take care of everything that first night. Got everything contained and under control. I also want to thank all the oversight and responding regulatory agencies that rolled in the following day, DEP, EPA, EMA, all the, hardware and equipment and personnel came in, assist us on data collection, data analysis, air quality, all that stuff that's certainly out of our realm, and appreciate, the efforts that they put in and giving us the clearing of the scene and the feedback that we got, yesterday that, nothing hazardous was, detected. So certainly appreciate their efforts. Also want to point out DEP has been on site and continues to help facilitate through this whole process. Their solid waste is the oversight of this facility and have been great, getting corrective action plan, up and running in place, and we'll be pulling the logistics and coordination of that the rest of today and over the weekend, and hopefully starting, the remediation plan to pull this thing to an end next week. So that's about enough for me. I'd like to introduce Evan Coleman. He's a representative with EPIC, the Eagle Point Energy Center.
Thank you all for being here today. We'd like to first commend the Orrington Fire Department and surrounding fire crews and first responders for their efforts over these last few days to help mitigate the impact of this situation. EPIC would like to further thank Penobscot County Emergency Management, Maine DEP, OSHA, Department of Labor, the EPA, and Penobscot County Commissioners for the resources provided to our company in the region in response to this event. When we acquired the facility in early 2024, it contained approximately 10,000 tons of material left by the former owners. EPIC has been financing and actively remediating the site, recently reaching the 50% completion mark. Unfortunately, during these remediation efforts, this fire took place. EPIC, the town of Orrington, Orrington Fire, and the MDEP are finalizing an accelerated remediation plan today to address the remaining material. Further details about these efforts will be made available in the near future. I understand you all have questions. Next week, we'll have a more open forum at a time to be determined. Right now, our focus is continued coordination today with regional agencies on site remediation. Thank you.
And our favorite fire chief this week, Orrington Chief Scott Stewart.
I didn't know you had two. Good morning, all. Thanks for coming. So basically, I'm going to give you a current update of the current conditions. We're in a similar state that we were the previous couple of days, where we have, the fire is in the trash pile, contained to the trash pile, and we are monitoring it and continue to extinguish hot spots as they pop up. The nature of this fire, the size of the pile, and the nature of a trash fire is no matter really how much water we put on it, it runs off the pile and out the door versus get to the fire itself and extinguish it. So we have to mechanically use equipment to get there and to open the pile up. That will all be addressed during the remediation plan and to allow us to fully extinguish it. In doing so, we're attempting to limit the smoke exposure to the region, as we have been since Wednesday morning, after we brought the fire under control. We continue to work with the owners, the DEP, the local contractors that are going to be assisting us with the remediation plan, and as Evan spoke, should have a better timeline sometime early next week as everything gets finalized. That's really the update I have for now, but certainly willing to take any questions if you do have them.
So you mentioned that you're still in this stage of maintaining what's happening and what's been happening. The remediation plan sounds like when you're going to start going in and really digging into that pile. What are you looking for so that you will know it's safe to go into that pile and kind of go into the interior of the building?
So that will be worked out with the contractors. We did a little bit of opening up the pile yesterday to attempt to make some improvement to conditions, and decided that wasn't really successful. So we were waiting for the remediation plan to come together, so we're able to get ourselves some more space in that area to be able to fully extinguish that fire. We are certainly erring on the side of caution at this time and continue to make these efforts safely while still recognizing the inconvenience that is caused to not only Orrington, but the communities around us. So we're working hard to limit that exposure while doing it safely.
Can I add? I think you're looking for the structural integrity of the building. I don't think that's been fully determined yet. As far as sending firefighting men and personnel into the building, that's certainly not going to happen now. There is contractors that have heavy equipment, that have steel cases around their operating cabin, oxygen within the cabin, fully protected. And that equipment and personnel are designed and trained to work in, situations like this. So that's the type of equipment and process that's happening within this structurally unknown safe building. So as far as sending a fireman in with a hard hat or a fire hat, that's not going to happen. So they've been, fighting this or controlling it from the outside. But there is men and equipment, or was men and equipment inside the building, fully enclosed and with equipment designed to work in these conditions. So I think that was more the line you were looking for, so. All right.
Thank you so much.
Question for Chief Stewart. How much progress has been made since Tuesday night and this evening?
The conditions change multiple times throughout the day, and we monitor that, and that's how we, again, I don't think we can judge the change in extinguishment, because we know that's not happening until we get that pile moved around. Like, we can dump, we estimate we put a 1.5 million gallons of water on this so far, and it's not out. So, we know from history, of dealing with this for, over 30 years for me, how it needs to go about. So basically, we're addressing the flare-ups as they come, but you still have this smoldering pile that we're dealing with that we're not able to get the water to. So it's a constant 24-hour, our staff's on site 24 hours a day, and we're constantly applying water to those spots, using fire suppression systems in place to help us that are, in the plant to limit the exposure as much as we can.
Is the cause of the fire still under investigation?
Yeah, the cause of the fire likely will never truly be determined because of the nature of what we're dealing with, but.
But the source is deep within that pile. It couldn't have maybe started elsewhere and spread into it. You know what I mean? Like, is that source, is that where it's?
Likely the source is within the pile.
Do you have any other new updates on air quality or results of the Penobscot River testing from DEP? Are there any updates?
So the EPA, we released that press release yesterday, or information blurb that they gave us about the air quality. We put it onto our Facebook page. I assume most of you got that. I believe DEP released some air quality, which should have very well, I haven't seen it yet, but mimicked what was said through EPA last night. I believe that came out last evening sometime, I don't know when. And I believe initial testing of the river or looking at the river was okay. I don't have any further information from DEP at this time on that.
Will air quality tests still keep going on, or?
So the EPA has left. They have moved their stations out. They did that initial testing. The results didn't deem any further testing. I believe there will be some air monitoring done from DEP through some stations that they have, but not directly at the site.
There's some concrete timeline of when the fire is going to be suppressed or at least extinguished?
No concrete timeline. It's going to be several more days, without a doubt. But we're hoping to get to a point where we can extinguish the fire and in conjunction with the remediation plan to limit the environmental impacts that are sustained.
Without that continued air quality testing, should we still kind of follow the same guidelines of staying inside and that sort of thing when it comes to the smoke that's going to be continuing as the fire continues to burn?
Yeah, our messaging is going to be the same. We would never recommend that you take in a lot of smoke, whether it's sitting at a campfire or, a home that was burning or a trash pile that's burning. It's smoke. You don't want to. You want to limit your exposure the best you can. In saying that, I think that don't suck it in from the outside. Keep your doors closed. But you also, if you can't smell it, you're probably safe to live your life.
I have a couple questions for Evan. Do you mind answering some questions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So the trash that was there was from the previous owners.
That's correct. All the material in the facility that is burning was left by the previous owners of the facility.
So at least in that section of the facility, you guys haven't been bringing in any trash since you guys have acquired it?
That's correct. We haven't brought in any material, and no material, everything's been contained to that one room. It's about approximately 10,000 tons that the previous owners brought in and never actually disposed of.
In those efforts to take away all that trash, where are they been going?
Oh, yeah, sure. So all the material has been going to JRL landfill up in Old Town. That process, again, we reached about the 50% completion mark last month. That's been supervised by the Maine DEP. And to date, no public funds except for funds expended by Orrington prior to our ownership have been used to clean up that pile. So to date, I think we've spent about $500,000 to try to get to the 50% completion mark of cleaning up that pile. Unfortunately, this fire broke out, during those efforts, and all we can do is try to accelerate those plans to get the facility cleaned up.
Did it begin, was it unprovoked how the fire started, or were you guys working in that section of the building?
Yeah, sure. So that particular fire, I don't have a lot of comment on that right now. But my understanding of the situation is that the pile for some time has had problems. It is essentially 10,000 tons of material in about a 200 by 200 area. Fire suppression systems were used to try to put it out. But again, it's just the nature of the material. We don't know exactly what's in there. As we try to work through it and again reach that 50% completion mark, it's just without any records from the previous owners or any insight, where every day is a challenge to try to understand, what we're going to be working with and dealing with. Plant personnel have done a fantastic job over the last 7 months to get the pile where it is today. I can only imagine what things would look like had they not been able to get about half the material out.
What was the current status of the building this week? What operations were happening there kind of before this fire broke out?
Yeah, sure. So that particular room is essentially segregated. All the damage to the facility has happened in that space. It's previously damaged by fire. The only operations in that portion of the building are the removal of that material and sorting of it to eventually be trucked out to JRL.
And those efforts were ongoing earlier this week?
That is correct, yes. Yep.
And do you have any updated timelines on when you're expecting the facility to reopen and begin accepting trash again? I think the latest we heard was early 2025. What's kind of your track right
Yeah, sure. So we will still be starting construction this year on the facility. In terms of an opening timeline, we haven't set that yet, given this event, but this does not change our start of construction this year to be able to refurbish the facility and get it to be a safe facility that provides a great service for the region.
Any general estimate when that might be reopened, whether that's a year within?
It would still be in 2025.
Was that section of the building already going to be replaced or fixed?
Yes, so that section of the building had already been heavily damaged by fire when the facility was owned by the previous owners. And so essentially all the siding, roofing, and carrying beams needed to be replaced. Obviously, this fire caused further damage to those beams, but that section of the facility was essentially going to be demolished and rebuilt.
And you guys came out with a press release, these were Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. In it, it said it was believed to be a lithium-ion battery that caused the fire. Since the cause of the fire is still under investigation, what proof is behind that belief?
There's no proof behind it. At the time, it's something that we've run into with the pile. Unfortunately, again, with the pile, it can be a number of items. It can be anything from propane tanks to spontaneous combustion. Given how fast the fire started, that was our belief. I have to leave that to the experts like Chief Stewart and state agencies to make that determination. Unfortunately, given the negligence of how much material was actually brought in, 10,000 tons is quite a bit, and stored there, it's unfortunate that we'll never know what actually started the fire. But I can assure you this isn't something that will happen under our ownership of the facility.
We heard that some of the employees at the facility have been put on a modified schedule earlier this week prior to the start of some of the changing operations. Do you know what that schedule change was about and when that was supposed to go back to previous schedules?
Oh, yeah, sure. So the facility's been preparing to open as a transfer station to consolidate regional waste, and so those employees are tied to that operation. But unfortunately, still working with the DEP on that permit, and so their schedule's modified until we actually open that up. Obviously, the events this last week delay that a little bit, but yeah. That's all the time I have for today. Thank you.
It's been busy over there this week, and I want to thank you guys for your patience, your assistance in helping us pass this information along to the communities, and certainly we will keep following up with you. So thank you much.